Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another episode of the Arsenal News Show, joining you every morning at 8 a.m. UK time. Feeling particularly tired this morning, not sure why. Not usually not feeling my perky usual self at 8 a.m. Something about, I don't know what it was, got 8 hours sleep, which is like the most sleep I've ever had in quite a long time. And yet somehow that made me feel more tired. So it was a little bit of a toughie getting up this morning. Maybe because it's a Sunday. I don't know. Yesterday I had a day off. It was quite a nice day off. Enjoyed what was a relatively warm October morning here in the UK. But I'm ready. I'm raring to go. I'm ready to talk about Arsenal. I'm ready to discuss all of the news around the club ahead of what is a massive game of football today, this afternoon. 2:30 kickoff against Liverpool in what could be not necessarily a title decider, not because of Arsenal, but mainly because of Liverpool's poor start to the season, but could certainly be very impactful to both teams' seasons, depending on the results. So without further ado, let's jump into the chat box. Say good morning to everybody joining us as per. Blackshire, good morning to you, to Paul, to Ode Relay and Kaiser and Steve Stone and Olu and Cody and NSW. Perez, good morning to you. Jose and PJ and Tony, good morning, guys. Martin and Jay and Stevie and Lynn, good morning, and Kunu to you. Thank you so much as always. Really appreciate every single time you always tune into the channel, always become part of the channel. And I can tell you that today is your last day to vote for us in the Football Content Awards. I will stop nagging you after this point. You'll probably be very happy to know. But if you haven't already done so, please do go and vote for us in the Content Awards. Let's jump to our first story after, of course, telling you to go and check out football prizes. There is only less than 40 tickets left to enter into the signed William Saliba shirt. The competition runs out on Tuesday, but there are still tickets remaining. So do make sure that you do not miss out on this brilliant opportunity to win what is a fantastic prize. Plenty of other options, not rather options, but certainly other opportunities to win prizes within this prize as well. You can buy tickets and potentially win a signed Tony Adams shirt, a signed Tomiyasu shirt, and plenty more goodies as well. Spurs somehow managed to beat Brighton 1-0. I was listening to De Zerbi's interview after the game, in which he came out and said he didn't quite understand or know how Brighton didn't come away with something. Sorry, guys. Yes, you're right. 4:30 kickoff this afternoon UK time. I don't know why I thought it was 2:30. I'm working the games. I should know when it is. You know it's early. But yes, Spurs somehow beating Brighton, which was a really kind of, I don't know if you watched this game, but watching it, it just felt like Brighton could have played for another, 90 minutes worth and still not scored. And yet Spurs somehow came away with a win. And that's happened a lot this season. Spurs are deceivingly picking up points so far this campaign. And I don't quite get it into my mind how they're doing it. Arsenal were able to really kind of expose them, for what they are in our game with them last weekend. But they just somehow go into these games and pick up a point or pick up 3 points, and they don't deserve it. And it's not me being biased, even though I blatantly am very biased against Spurs. It is genuinely the way that it is against them. They are just very, very fortunate. And fingers crossed this luck for them comes to an end at some stage. Manchester City did go top with a big win over Southampton. Cancelo with a double. Of course, Erling Haaland's getting his name on the score sheet as always. Arsenal are going to have to rely on something major happening to stop them from picking up points and maximum points, of course, in most of their games this season. If we actually have a look at Manchester City's fixtures, if Arsenal are going to have a hope of stopping them, they play against Liverpool away from home next weekend, which is obviously a good opportunity, you would hope, for Liverpool to try and take some points off Man City. If Arsenal get a big result against Liverpool today, that would be massive. Man City then play Brighton at home. Brighton, a very good side. However, the idea of facing them is tricky. You then play Dortmund in the Champions League and then Leicester at home. And Leicester losing to Bournemouth yesterday. Surely it's only a matter of time now until Brendan Rodgers loses his job. They then play Fulham before playing Brentford and Leeds and Everton, before then on January 2nd playing Chelsea. So there's opportunities, I suppose, for some teams to take points off Man City it's just very, very difficult to see Man City losing any games this season or even dropping points in any games. And that's why the challenge for Arsenal to ever even think about a title is just so ridiculously tough. Kai Havertz helped Chelsea ease past Wolves. Wolves, another very poor side in the Premier League right now. A reason why they sacked their manager Bruno Lage, but it helps Chelsea get up to 4th place in the table, 5 points behind Arsenal. Arsenal, of course, have now played the same amount of games because Chelsea did have a game in hand over Arsenal before yesterday. So Arsenal get the opportunity to go another 8 points clear of Chelsea with a win over Liverpool this afternoon. We need to try and maintain that gap as much as feasibly possible because Chelsea are going to get better. They are going to improve. RB, thank you so much for joining up as a member in the chat box. Really appreciate your kind support to the channel. I'm sure that people are already welcoming you to the TGT community. But welcome if you are indeed an expert member or a TGT ambassador. You can join our Discord server and talk about Arsenal like you guys do in our chat box all the live long day. And it's definitely worth it for a match day for our Game Time channel in the Discord. Arsenal's under-18s, of course, Jack Wilshere's under-18s beat Aston Villa 1-0. A really kind of solid performance, actually, when we've needed one. The season didn't start particularly great for Arsenal's under-18s under Jack Wilshere because they lost a fair few games. He's trying to get his feet under the table, but actually they came out of this game very well in the end. But I want to see some kind of higher scoring performances. I want to see more goals scored. I want to see more confidence. It's always tricky to kind of analyze these youth matches sometimes, but you'd want to see them playing to the best of their ability. Ethan Nwaneri plays in this game. But I think it was Reece Ferdinand who ended up getting the goal for the under-18s. And speaking of wanting to see more goals, unfortunately, Arsenal weren't able to score any in their under-21s game against Tottenham, which ended in a 0-0 draw at Tottenham Hotspur's training ground. My colleague Bailey Keogh was there for the game. And at Football London, we're actually going to be doing plenty more coverage of the youth games. We're going to be trying to do a lot more live blogs covering the youth games. So if you're ever interested in kind of keeping up to date with the scores and stuff like that, we are going to be having my colleague Bailey Keogh over at a lot of the youth games to try and, bring more coverage and bring more information about them. So it's definitely worth you keeping your eyes out on the FL website's live blogs for that. Speaking of live blogs, I'm going to be doing the minute by minute for today's Arsenal game against Liverpool. Auston Trusty scored twice for Birmingham in a 3-0 victory over Bristol City. It's definitely worth going back and having a look at the highlights of this game. You can find them on YouTube pretty comfortably. 2 goals from set pieces. The first one, a corner, which was headed and cleared what seemed to be off the line, but goal line technology deemed to have seen it go over the line. And certainly looking towards the second goal, it was one of those where you think the goalkeeper's going to kind of just collect it comfortably into his hands, and he doesn't because Trusty just kind of runs in, sticks his foot in the way, and the keeper's just kind of looking around like, what on earth just happened? But Trusty with 2 goals and a 3-0 win. The Birmingham manager came out after the game and certainly said that he feels as though Trusty should be on the plane for the US team to go to the World Cup. So that's definitely a positive. Balogun's Rennes side drew with PSG. He was quite calm in a number of moments. There was quite a flary few opportunities for the PSG and Rennes players to get at one another. But actually, there was a really strange incident where Sergio Ramos was sent off for a second yellow card, despite the fact that it was his teammates that seemed to be the ones showing dissent. It was a really odd one, certainly worth you going and trying to find on Twitter and YouTube to watch back, because I can't quite get my head around why Sergio Ramos was sent off for a second yellow card. It's a very Sergio Ramos thing to do, to get sent off. But following Balogun stayed very calm throughout the performance. There was plenty of opportunities for Rennes, but they weren't able to take any of them. And if you look at the record of number of red cards that have happened in games that Rennes have played in, it's kind of ridiculous at this stage. Not really sure what's going on in these games, but rarely do a Rennes game end with 11 against 11. Patino started in the game at which Blackpool beat Watford 3-1. Didn't get on the score sheet, but certainly again showing absolutely what he is capable of for the Championship side. He's being raved about. He's being absolutely loved by the Blackpool fans. I look forward to bringing you another loan roundup but unfortunately going to be finding plenty more about what our young star can do this campaign, because he's absolutely smashed the start of the season. William Saliba is, of course, amongst the conversation starters whenever Mikel Arteta conducts a press conference. But ahead of the game against Liverpool, in an interview with, I believe it was Sky, he was asked around kind of the relationship between Saliba and himself, and he admitted that he had concerns, when Saliba returned from loan, because Saliba thought he was ready. Arteta didn't. He sent him on not just one, but two loan spells after he'd already completed a loan spell of Saint Etienne. And there was always kind of this feeling, both amongst the fans and clearly now Arteta as well, with his comments coming out that will air, I believe, ahead of the Liverpool game. But it always felt as though it wouldn't necessarily work out most favourably for Arsenal. That said, Arteta then turned around and said how humble, Saliba had been ever since coming back, and how they've now done a 2-page spread in the Thursday night program, which I did show you yesterday. But if you do have a program, I think you can now go onto the Arsenal website and read that interview that is in the program from Thursday night with Saliba. He talks about being very committed to Arsenal, very excited about his time at Arsenal. And I look forward to seeing maybe, hopefully, a brand new contract as well at the club. Now, our final focus of the day before we go to you guys in the chat box, of course, is Arsenal's game against Liverpool today. 4:30 kickoff, just to confirm that for everybody, because for some reason I was working on some other time zone, it seems. 4:30 o'clock, 4:30 o'clock, that's not even a time. 4:30 p.m. this afternoon, Arsenal will play against Liverpool in what is a massive opportunity for Arsenal to really get kind of 3 points, make a statement. Because if you think about it, we don't really have another opportunity to make any kind of statement again besides the Chelsea game, I guess, which is in November. That's the next opportunity we have. We need to win the games that we're expected to win if we're going to have any hope of getting as close to top spot as we can. And I'm not really thinking about top spot at all. I just hope that we can really kind of show everybody what we're capable of this afternoon. We know that Liverpool are a very good side. I think maybe some people have fallen into the trap of underestimating Liverpool. I still think Arsenal go into this game as favourites because of just the form that we've been in comparison to them. But I do feel as though that there is an element of underestimating how good Liverpool can be. They've pretty much got their full strength side besides Robertson. Thiago is said to be a doubt, although he's not confirmed to be missing this game. Otherwise, they've got Diaz, Nunez, Salah, Jota, Trent, Van Dijk, Matip, Henderson, Fabinho. They've got all the usual suspects, Elliott, of course, as well, all available. So I don't see why they wouldn't be able to put out a really strong team. But the atmosphere is going to be crazy. If you're going to the game, make sure you sing to your absolute maximum, because we need to create an energy in that ground that gives us the best opportunity of getting what would be a massive win over the Reds. And that brings us to the end of part one, which means we're going to move to part two and your questions after this short break. Hey guys, Tom Canton from the Gooner Talk here. A massive thank you to everybody that has voted for us in the Football Content Awards. We have been nominated for the Best Club Content Creator in the Premier League. To vote, and yes, we still need your votes, because after being nominated, we now need to push through to try and get even further than the third place that we got last year. To do that, you can go over to the Football Content Awards website. You scroll down the page and you can find at the bottom of that a little link that says voting page. You go down to the Best Club Content Creator category and select the Gooner Talk. After you've done that, scroll down to the bottom of the page, click vote now, and it's all locked in. You can also vote on Instagram by going to the FCA's Instagram page, find the Best Club Content Creator Premier League category, and tag at the Gooner Talk in that profile. And lastly, you can also vote on Twitter. Just go to www.votefortgt.com and it will create the tweet for you. It's as simple as that. A massive thank you to everybody that's already voted, and for those that are going to. We really appreciate it. Come on, you Gooners. Yes, indeed. As asked in the chat box by Gimme Box, this will be the last day you have to see that video, because today is indeed the last day that you can vote for us in the Football Content Awards. You can vote via Twitter, Instagram, or on their website. If you voted on one but not the others, I encourage you to go and vote for us on those other platforms, because you can get as many as 3 votes in for this competition. The award ceremony is a little bit later in, I think, October, potentially November. I need to double check the dates. But there's some other fantastic podcasts, of course, that you should be aware of that are nominated for other categories. In the best new content creator category, you can find both Lee Judges TV and Latte Firm of FKs, of course. So do go vote for either of those two. Help support them. They produce fantastic content, are both worthy winners of that category. FK in particular, who started his channel not so long ago and done amazingly well. And then you've got Lee and Dan at LJTV that have done fantastically too. You've got the Arsenal Vision podcast in the best podcast category, and you can vote for Arsenal in best football club as well, although I'm not sure Arsenal need too many votes these days. And speaking of voting, I don't know if the voting is still open, but always make sure you vote for Tony Adams in Strictly. If you didn't watch Tony Adams' dance last night, I encourage you to go and watch it. It was quite something to behold. What a guy. What a guy. Anyway, let's move on to part 2 and your questions by jumping in. Let's go to Matt G, who says, Tom, who do you think will be our most important player today? Partey, so we control the midfield, or Jesus for taking his chances? Ultimately, I think Partey is a massive part of this team. And, when he is and isn't in the side, the difference between any other player's presence or not being there is just nowhere near as close. Partey is going to be massive for this game for us. Jesus, yes, needs to take his chances, but control of the midfield, making sure that we control most of the possession and create more opportunities is what's going to hopefully get us a win in this game. Lynn says, Tom, where do you think our weakest spot is in the team and where is theirs? I think both our left and their right, so on the game, the same side of the pitch, our left-hand side of the pitch, their right-hand side of the pitch. I think that's their weakest area defensively. I think defensively, the left-hand side for us is our weakest area of the pitch. So that could really be where a lot of the attacks go down both sides for Arsenal. Arsenal's left, Liverpool's right. I think that's where you'll see Salah and Martinelli trying to get as best of the opportunities they can in this game. So I'd expect, and Trent, of course, too, and Zinchenko on the other side as well. So, yeah, I think that's left channel for Arsenal is going to be where the most of the action happens in this game. Bradley says, Tom, do you think there's a chance we might recall Charlie Patino back from his loan if we struggle to sign a midfielder in January? He's been playing in the 6th role for Blackpool and he looks unnatural. He does have a recall clause in his contract. I spoke to someone very close to Charlie Patino that confirmed that to me. I don't know whether or not Patino will be recalled in January. I feel as though Arsenal are still going to look to go out and sign a central midfielder in the January transfer window, and they want to see Patino playing regularly and developing more. So I'm very doubtful that a recall clause would be activated in that January window. Nikolai says, do you think we'll have to do everything ourselves and give Man City their only defeat this season to keep the invincible status? Going a season undefeated is always something that's kind of underestimated at the start of a campaign when a team become undefeated for 15, even maybe 20 games. Going 38 games unbeaten is just something that you can't ever imagine another team doing. So let's absolutely get grounded a little bit about the idea of Man City going undefeated. The league is so strong at times that teams just pick up random wins and you don't expect them to happen, but they do. I didn't expect Villa to get a point against City, but they did. So I don't think it's the time to be worried about City becoming invincible by any stretch of the imagination. Daz says, Tom, did you see a combined Arsenal and Liverpool 11? There were 8 Liverpool players. Is that biased? Let's do a combined Liverpool-Arsenal 11 right here, right now, from my opinion. In goal, Alisson. Right back. Based on raw quality as a right back, you go with Trent. But there's no doubt in my mind that Ben White has been the better right back this season. I think Ben White has been better at right back this season than Trent has been for Liverpool. So it's tough. So if you're doing it based on form, I'd go with White. If you're doing it based on base quality, I'd go with Trent. Van Dijk, again, if you're going on form, hasn't been that great this season. But I think you have to pick Van Dijk and Saliba as your back too. Left back, Robertson or Zinchenko. Robertson, I think probably sneaks in, but Zinchenko's been very good. But Robertson, yeah. So you'd go Alisson. Let's hold on before we do this. shall we do this on form or shall we do this on form? So combined 11, form or base quality? That's what I want to know. So I've left a poll in the chat box. We'll pause. We'll pause that combined 11 because I want to know if you want to do it based on form or you want to do it on base quality. Because if it's either, it's different answers. It's really difficult to come up with an answer for either. And it's, yeah, exactly. Keyboard Warrior says Van Dijk's been average since his injury. Nav says we need to do a right now kind of combined 11. If it's right now, it's very different to what a base quality combined 11. If an MVR says we should do both. I think if you're doing it on form, it goes Alisson, White, Saliba. Yeah, I'm really tempted to say Gabriel. I still feel as though I should say, I feel as though I should say Van Dijk. I still think he's absolute quality, but tricky one. Left back, I still think I go Robertson. I think I still go with. You think I have to go Partey and Fabinho? I know that Xhaka's been unreal, but again, it's so tough because I feel like form Arsenal include the form team, so you're just picking a whole Arsenal team because they're in form compared to Liverpool. Zeus says based on who you trust to be better this season. It's a good way of putting it, to be fair. All right, I'm going to commit to every position. We're going to go 4-2-3-1 as a formation. Alisson, White, Saliba, Van Dijk, Robertson, Partey, Fabinho, Ødegaard, Salah, Jesus, Diaz. That's my team. That's my team as I'm doing it right now. So that's what I've gone for. So in the chat box, I want you guys to type in your combined 11s. I'm going to type you to mine. Alisson, White, VVD, Saliba, Robertson, Fabinho, Partey, Ødegaard, Salah, Jesus, Diaz. That's my combined 11. That's what I would choose. People might call me mad for choosing White over Trent Alexander-Arnold, but that's what I would go for. That's the team I would pick right now. If you said I could go into a Champions League final and I could pick the team, that's what I'd go for. That's what I would go for. And that's really harsh on Granit Xhaka, I know, because Granit Xhaka has been fantastic. But if I'm going into a game in a Champions League final and I can pick from the players of those two teams, that's what I'm picking. That's the best way I can sum up how I've chosen that team. That's what I've gone for. So, yeah. Allison says, AG Abdallah says, Alisson, White, Van Dijk, Saliba, Partey, Fabinho, Salah, Jesus, Martinelli. Going for a back. Is that even 11 players? Yeah, it is. Is it? No, you surely missed someone out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, you've missed someone out. I'm assuming Ødegaard. Keyboard Warrior says Ramsdale, White, Saliba, Gabriel, Zinchenko, Xhaka, Partey, Martinelli, Saka, Ødegaard, Jesus. I wonder who you've missed out from a Liverpool team. Everyone. John says no Martinelli. I just think that Diaz is more of an accomplished player. I trust Diaz more personally. I think that Diaz is a fantastic player. Absolutely fantastic. I really think that he's a brilliant, brilliant player. I'd even be tempted to throw Jota in. Jota's always fantastic against Arsenal for some reason. Bradley says Alisson, White, Van Dijk, Saliba, Robertson, Partey, Xhaka, Ødegaard, Salah, Jesus, Martinelli. A couple of differences. If you are watching this on catch-up, do throw your 11s into the comment section below. And let us know what your combined team and also your reasoning of how you picked it. As I said before, my reasoning of how I picked the team is like if I was going into a Champions League final and I could pick from players of either team, how would I set it up? That's how I personally, I think, would set up my teams. Francois says, I still remember a certain Liverpool team versus Atletico Madrid during which Partey put his foot so far up Liverpool's behind, I thought he grew up in there. Liverpool knows that Xhaka will star today. Ham says, I think Diaz is better than Martinelli, but when Martinelli is the age Diaz is right now, he's going to be far better. It's a fair point. You know, Martinelli could develop into a better player than Diaz, but if you were asking me to pick a team to trust right now, I would pick Diaz. Max says, Tom, you left Martinelli and Saka out. Those are Klopp's dream players, whispering to them after every match, low-key negotiating. Well, as I wrote the other day, I don't think we need to necessarily be worried about that. I don't look at signing for Liverpool from Arsenal as a step forward anymore at all. Olu says, Alisson, Trent, Virgil van Dijk, Saliba, Tini, Partey, Fabinho, Odegaard, Saka, Salah, Martinelli. Wow, throwing Salah in as a central striker in that team. Daz says, Alisson, Ben White, Saliba, Virgil van Dijk, Zinchenko, Partey, Xhaka, Odegaard, Salah, Saka, Jesus. We are top of the league, so more Arsenal players. How many players did I put in from Arsenal in mine? Hold on. I put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I actually had 6 Liverpool players in my combined 11. I think that's fair. I think, if you were going to trust players to play in a Champions League final, I would lean towards that. I would lean towards those players. I think Partey playing slightly ahead of Fabinho gives you so much. That for me would be the most consistent 11 that I could probably pick between the two. But yeah, great to get so many of your different opinions in on this one. I think it's certainly split and certainly one that's worth a debate around. Could have even done a show on this with a few guests to decide a combined 11, maybe even with a couple of my colleagues over at the Liverpool Echo or the Liverpool.com to get, if you want to hear a kind of a chat between myself and someone from behind enemy lines, as we call the show, go over and listen to my conversation with Matt Addison, who's the editor at Liverpool.com on the Arsenal Way. That is up for you guys to go and listen to. Stephen says, it's fair, but deluded. I don't think there's anything deluded about picking 6 Liverpool players in a combined 11 right now. However, I would say Sky picking 8 Liverpool players is a little bit crazy. A little bit crazy indeed. Fuad says, Tom, at what point, if at all, do you think Ben White will say enough is enough and will want to start playing in his natural position at centre-back? Or could we potentially see this as a permanent move? I don't think we'll necessarily see him turn around and say enough is enough. He's playing. And that's all that he wants. He wants to play. Footballers want to play. I've only known ever a few players to be so frustrated that they've basically kamikazed their own career by not being so annoyed that they're playing out of position. One of them is Ainsley Maitland-Niles, of course, who could have, who knows, been Arsenal's right back for the foreseeable future if he had developed and committed to playing that fullback role. Who knows what could have happened? But he fought against it. His performances didn't live up to it because he was frustrated and agitated about playing out of his position. Ben White has just absolutely thrived in that right back role. The amount of kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Disrespect. That's the right word because that's what it is. The amount of disrespect that people have given Ben White using his surname in some kind of derogatory fashion because it rhymes with another horrific word to describe what he is just laziness and a stick to beat Mikel Arteta with, and kind of embarrassing as well. I mean, if you're going around calling Ben White Ben, you know what? Grow the hell up. What's wrong with you? And he's been absolutely fantastic for us, and fair play to him. I don't know why he's not really likable. Some say because he's a bit of a pretty boy, and he says he's not really liked football, that he's not very likable. Who cares what he looks like? Are you really making a judgment on someone based on their appearance? What's wrong with you? I think he's been great. Obviously, the whole Saliba situation didn't really help his kind of position in the team, because as soon as we loaned out Saliba and then spent 50 million quid on Ben White, it's absolutely ridiculous. It's ridiculous. When Ben White is improving every single week at right back, says Bradley. Brandon says, why are Arsenal fans so afraid of sticking out their chest admitting Arsenal were title challengers? So many claiming next year, but the chances might be gone in a year and 18 months to 24 months. For me, it's not about being afraid of sticking my chest out and saying Arsenal are title challengers. We're in October and we're in a situation whereby Man City are just on a different level. Yes, they're a point behind us. If we win today, they're currently top of the table. But you look at the difference in, the way they win games compared to us. It's just a different kettle of fish. It's just completely different. It's so much more accomplished than Arsenal are right now. Arsenal are winning games, and some of the games we've won this season have been accomplished wins, like against Bournemouth or like against Brentford. These games Arsenal have looked, or Spurs, Arsenal have looked dominant. Arsenal have looked brilliant. The thing is with Man City is that 90% of their games, they've looked just so incredibly levels above the opponent. Whereas, we've had games like the Leicester game and the Fulham game and the Crystal Palace game. Whilst we came out as victors, the difference between the performance, or the difference between kind of winning and losing and dropping points, was a lot closer than, say, the Manchester City performances so far this season, where they've just blown teams away. And now Arsenal have been able to do that in some of their games, but Man City have been able to do that in pretty much all of their games so far this season. That's the difference between the two. And that's why, despite the fact that we're so close in terms of points on the table, I can't stick my chest out, as it's described, and say, for me, Arsenal are title challengers right now, because I need to see more from Arsenal. I need to see more consistency. I need to see more dominance. I need to see more clinicalness. I need to see so much more to say that Arsenal are title challengers. So there you go. Vivian says Southgate doesn't pick White because he's prettier than him. The fact that White isn't in the England squad right now is a joke. Like, if he isn't on that plane to Qatar, and I know we all talk about the fact that we don't really want our players to go out and not play because it's a risk of injury, but I prefer our players to be playing. I prefer our players to be, happy, given that boost of being given the opportunity to play for England. White has been unreal. And deserves to be in that team over Trent, and deserves to be in that team over Reece James. It's just for me. I just think he's been better than those two this season. I think he's been amazing. And his versatility as well. With Kyle Walker potentially not there because he's injured, he's just undergone surgery, White should be in that team. I mean, how you can pick Harry Maguire, even a White playing right back, you can see that he would be better than Harry Maguire. Harry Maguire being in the team is just such an insult to the players that are available to selection. Such an insult. It's so incredibly frustrating. And I am an England fan. And I know there are a lot of guys and gals that are English that don't particularly like supporting England because they find international football boring, or they don't particularly like the fact that they have to get behind some Spurs players. I know that my good friend Lee Judges doesn't really like that side of things because Kane and Spurs players are in the England team. I put that to one side for me. I like getting behind England. I like supporting England. I like watching England at tournaments. I like having a great time with my friends who, there's me and one other guy that are Arsenal fans in my friend group. There are other Spurs fans, there's Chelsea fans, there's United fans, there's a Crystal Palace fan, but I like the fact that when England comes around, we all support the same thing. That's just where I'm kind of at. And so that's why I get invested and so frustrated with Gareth Southgate as the England manager, because I just think it's silly that he doesn't pick someone like Ben White. It's silly that he gives opportunities to people like Harry Maguire. It's a joke. It's frankly a joke. And I would happily take a different coach. And, I don't feel as though I'm the person that comes across very like a manager out type, but I would happily swap out Gareth Southgate for someone better. Because I just think that Arsenal, England would have won the Euros with a better coach. I think they could have gone absolutely to the final of the World Cup with a better coach. And it's just different for me with England and Arsenal, because I feel as though Arsenal are progressing. I don't think England are progressing. I think the only way England are going forwards is because of the raw quality of the players that are available, not much to do with what Southgate is doing. I just think we could do better. Who would you take as the next England manager? I'd go with Nick Luis Enrique from Spain if he's done there. Take a different challenge with England, if that's ever even possible. But yeah, I'd go after someone like that and take him in and see what he could do. Let's go to Hamster, who says people hold White's price tag against him so much. Why don't they do that with Martial or Sancho or Fofana? I suppose they can, but he plays for Arsenal, and that always counts against you in any kind of argument these days. Suleiman says, Tom, do you think after a good start to the season we will end up 5th? I'd be absolutely fuming if we ended up 5th. It would have to take some kind of cataclysmic injury issue to justify a 5th place. And even then, you're pushing it. Minimum expectation is top 4. And I've said that from the beginning of season, pre-season, into the season. Minimum expectation is Champions League qualification. I want to see Arsenal push as hard and as high up the table as they can to finish. If you can indeed drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel, that would be amazing. There's over 600 of you watching, which on a Sunday morning is an accomplishment. Trust me. Our Sundays are our quietest days. So thank you so much, everybody that's tuned in this morning. Really, really appreciate it. I will see you after the game over on the Arsenal way, and I will see you tomorrow morning for the breakdown of the Arsenal-Liverpool fixture in our usual 8 a.m. slot. So do make sure that if you are subscribed, fantastic. If you are not subscribed, it may surprise you because 34% of people that watch us aren't subscribed. So make sure you go and subscribe to the channel as we try and push towards 40,000 subs. We're very, very, very close at this stage. Very close indeed to hitting 40,000 subscribers. Only like 500 away. So do help us on our way to hitting that milestone. I'd really love to try and get there before Christmas. That would be amazing. It's always a bit slower during this part of the season. So if you can help support the channel, if you've got your friends, share the channel around, share the links around, share the videos around, vote for us in the Football Content Awards. Today is your last chance to do that. The links will be disappearing from the description after today. So go down to the description, vote for us on Twitter, vote for us on Instagram, vote for us on the website. Take 5 minutes out of your day to go and do that. It doesn't even take 5 minutes. It takes like 2. So you can go and do all of those things as you make your breakfast. Thanks so much. Thank you for the continued support. See you later. I'm hoping for a big win. It's hopefully going to be a great day. And as always, up the Arsenal.